Hey guys, welcome back. Today we take a look at Ethereal Custody Anthologies by Byron Allanvre. This is an anthology book, so it's got lots of stories inside one book. They're all interconnected, and some are short, some are a bit longer, so are they any good? Well, make sure you stay tuned till the end to find out. I hope you enjoy, and let's get started. So since there's like a bunch of different stories inside this one book, I'm going to be talking briefly about each of the stories. Not all of them, just some of the key ones that stood out to me. So the first book is kind of set in a dystopian future where the government's dead corrupt and it's run by corporations that are oppressing the people. And the people in this world are living underground. They're not allowed to have colour because that's owned by corporations. They've got barcodes like tattooed on the wrist to identify them. And it's kind of like an awful dystopian future where everything's gone to hell. And everyone's dead oppressed, people are poor, starving, and they've got no freedom because they're just chained to this life of slavery, pretty much. So one of my favourite things about the first story was the world building, because like the world you learn about is so interesting, because right off the very bat, as soon as I read the first like paragraph, it just introduces you to this horrible, horrible world, and it was so interesting to learn about. Because you kind of get a rough idea at the start about what's going on, like how people have been oppressed, but as you actually see it from the character's point of view, it's so like interesting to like read about that. Because you don't really know much about this world as you start going in, but you're seeing it through like their thoughts, how they experience, how they live. And that's one of my favourite things about this first story, was just how interesting the world was. And like how it got to like this point, and the people like talking about rebellion, like how they're going to break out. So the first story actually follows a group of rebels, and they are trying to break out of like the corporate shackles, and they want to get to the surface, because people are living underground. And their dream is just to one day see nature. And these people have been living underground their whole life. They've never seen outside, never seen grass, they've never seen any flowers. And one person's like, he says, my dream is to see a rose. And that's like all he wants to do. He's been oppressed for that long, they have no idea what's on the outside. So this group, their kind of goal is to get a group together and escape to the surface. But it's not going to be easy to do. Because obviously you've got the corporations like holding these people down. And they're not letting people escape, because like why would they let someone escape? They're pretty much forced into this like horrible lifestyle. And their goal is to get to the top, get enough resources, and try and escape. And that's kind of the main plot of the first story. So the plot of this book does move quite fast. You kind of get from the introduction right into like the main plot of the first story. I wish we had a bit more time to like develop the characters, but it's not that big of a deal because it's quite a short story and you get to know the characters as the plot goes on. But overall, I really enjoyed this story. The world was so gripping and I just wanted to learn more about it. And I'm glad to say you do learn more about it as the plot goes on, because all the plots are kind of interconnected, but they're all like separate standalone stories. So one thing I really loved about this book was between like the main stories, you have these like short stories, and they're not like very relevant to like the main plot as a whole, but it does give you a lot of world building. So you get these like short stories where you learn more about how this universe works, about like what's happened in the past, what led to the situation where like the main plot is in now. And I thought that was really interesting to like break up the pacing a bit, because like you have the main story, you get a couple of short stories, and then you get another main story. And I felt that really helped it flow quite well, rather than having just these really long main stories, one after another. Because you get a long story, and you kind of want something short to kind of break it up before you get into another big one. So you get a long story, a couple of short stories, and then a big story again. I thought that was really well paced. So the next story is kind of like, what if God had abandoned us, and what if angels were left like in charge of the earth? Because God leaves Earth and the human race just to fend for themselves, and the angels stay and they try and like do what they think is best for the human race. And I thought that was really interesting about these angels, was they're not all like goody two-shoes, perfect, like flat characters. They all have different personalities, different goals. And all these angels kind of had different motivations, like some were like mercenaries, some wanted to help humans as much as possible. And they all were like totally different in what they wanted, how they like contribute to the plot, and how like they kind of helped this world or didn't help this world, or were they out for themselves. And I really liked how these angels were like such interesting characters, because like these like beings that are above humans, but they still acted like humans, they acted selfishly, some acted selflessly. And because they're all like different, I really enjoyed reading about them and the personalities. So one plot I did really like, it was just a short story, was that there's a plot about a man trying to rescue his daughter. And in the city he's trying to rescue her from, like, animals have gone wild, they're kind of running chaos around the city. And they're very dangerous, because if you're running around with like hundreds and hundreds of animals, you're probably going to get stamped on. And this guy is trying to rescue his daughter, and he's kind of trying to like navigate through the city as like everything's gone to hell. And it's quite a basic plot overall, but it was written really well, and it was so engaging, and I really wanted to know what happened. I had no idea if he was going to make it or not, and I really liked that. Just like quite a short story, not got that much to do with the main plot, but it was so well written, and it was absolutely fantastic. There was one scene I really liked where a grand mage kind of crashes onto Earth, and he ends up at a college like frat party, I guess I'd say. And everyone there thinks he's just like this really hardcore Dungeons and Dragons roleplayer, because he's going around saying, oh, I'm the grand mage and all this and the other. And like, well, does the grand mage know how to play beer pong? And like, it's just quite a short story, but it is really funny. And it kind of reminds me of Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, in that he's kind of doesn't understand why he's being funny with like stuff he says, but he's kind of that sort of humour. So if you kind of like Guardians of the Galaxy and how Drax acts in that, you'll probably definitely like this short story, because it is really funny. So the next major story is probably the longest one in the book. It follows a couple of different points of view. There's a young girl writing in a diary, and there's also a young man who's writing like an online blog. And he's kind of fed up with his life, and there's kind of a few events that happen to both characters. I don't want to really spoil like what these events are, but like the characters have such great character development from like the start to the end. And that's one of my favourite things that happened. Like they weren't that interesting to start with, but as the plot, like it's kind of a bit slow build. When it gets going, it really gets going. And I love the character development they had, because the story from their start to finish, it definitely did not go places I was expecting, and the characters changed like so much from start to end. And it was such like a great like payoff. Like the build up was fantastic. And it's very slowly setting up this like big conflict, and the conflict absolutely pays off. And I absolutely love the ending to this like story. And it kind of starts to tie in like all the earlier stuff as well. You don't get everything tied together just yet, but kind of hints and stuff that you can kind of start piecing together the pieces of the story overall. So the final story does kind of tie everything together that happened before. I can't really say too much about the plot because I don't want to spoil it, and like the ending is like the big conclusion of everything coming together. So it does tie all the previous stories together. So if you're reading it like first time and you're like, well, why is this so disconnected and not interconnected? I can assure you by the end of it, everything does get tied together, and all stories kind of overlap into the big conclusion. I can't really say much more than that, but I can just assure you everything pays off really well. So one of my favourite parts about this book was the world building, without a doubt. The world's just so fascinating to learn about, and because you see it from all the different perspectives that are set in like different times, you get like different peaks into like the different time periods, and kind of you get some stuff that happens later on and then some stuff that happens earlier. And you kind of don't know exactly when it all takes place until the end, but it's really interesting to like learn about this world, and it's so fascinating. Stuff like the angels and the oppressive government, all these different stories are just so great to learn about, and they're all set in the same universe, which I absolutely loved. So overall, I really enjoyed this book. If it does sound interesting to you, the author has put some like teaser trailers on his YouTube channel, which are like kind of small extracts from the book. So if it sounds something you might be interested in, I'll put a link down to them below, so make sure to go check them out. So with that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed. Make sure to follow me Twitter and Goodreads. I'll put the author's Twitter in the description as well. Make sure to follow us both. I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you all next week. This is JJ Goodman. Over and out.